Welcome to Empowered to Grow, the podcast. I am your host, Hanan Al-Basha. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Empowered to Grow in Business podcast. This is your host, Hanan Al-Basha. I know I keep saying every time that this is a special episode for me, but this one I think is an extra special episode because it's a full circle moment for me. And before I tell you about it, I have to bring Stefan, my special guest for today, on the stage so I can talk about my special full circle moment when he's here. Stefan Lindberg-Jones, welcome to Empowered to Grow podcast.
Thank you for having me. I am ready and I am looking forward to this, to be on the other side of not worrying about the questions or anything like that. It's a pleasure.
And that's my full circle moment. Thank you for being here. Stefan, so he had his podcast. And my first podcast appearance was on your podcast. And I was counting my stats and I realized I've had 300 podcast conversations since that day.
Wow. And
we co-hosted your podcast during the lockdown. We had like 30 episodes. We were going live on Facebook nearly every day. So this is really, really special. Thank you. Thank you for, bringing me out of my shell and then allowing me to share the stage and then encouraging me to have my own podcast. And now you're a guest on my podcast. And I can't believe it took 195 episodes for you to come on board.
I know. How rude that I had to wait so long. I should have been your first one.
It's just because you're extra special. I'm bringing you closer to the 200 episode anniversary.
No, I do remember while you were talking then, because I thought our first ones was during COVID, but it wasn't. You came into the studio and I remember that it was a two-parter because you had so much to say. And I loved everything about you with your energy and your knowledge and your wisdom. And it was just like, this has got to be a two-parter. I've got to keep on asking her questions. I want to know more. And then
I remember... Go ahead. No,
go on. You carry on. And then I can.
No, the part, because I remember one of the questions you asked me on that first episode is like, where have you been? And I'm like, I have been my best kept secret, staying at home, healing from business trauma.
And that was it. It was just like, why aren't you out there? You've got so much knowledge. You've got so much wisdom. Why am I not hearing you and seeing you all over the place? And you had your own journey to do, and then COVID happened, and I wanted you with your knowledge and wisdom to be my right-hand man, lady, because I knew that we had to show up, we had to give back, we had to help people. And I don't know what kind of effect we had, but we literally went live every single day.
We did really well during that time. The messages and the feedback we got was amazing. And we had some amazing guests. So we
had some amazing guests. It was great. It was a incredible journey. And I think I needed it as well. When I look at why I did podcasts, I was kind of helping myself. It was something that I needed, whether it was building relationships or whether it was just, knowledge building from all these people that I was interviewing. And, when you came on, it was just like, I'm going to tap into this lady.
Thank you. And thank you for being my friend ever since. So that is also something I appreciate.
It's been a pleasure. And just to watch your journey, I never forget when we first did the COVID podcast and it was coming from your office and you had these random certificates just all over.
I still have them. They're on the other wall. They're next to me.
But now they're more aligned. They were a little bit wonky and just randomly placed. And it was, and I loved it because, that was you and that was the way you were at. And, your qualifications, it was you, but to see the progress and to see your development and see you flourish and, blossom, in the green jumper, it is just like a flower that's just blossomed.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Well, first, let's start at the beginning. Let's tell people about you. Can you please introduce yourself and tell people who you are and what you do?
Oh, I'm never good at that. I start boring myself. No, basically, as you can see, my name is Stefan Lindberg-Jones. Where I'm at now, I am a professional life coach and mentor, and that literally is singing from the heart. And I'm loving the journey that I'm on. It's funny when I look back, how when you look back at your life and your journey, you're here for a reason, and you've learned so much, and you've worn so many different hats, and you've been coming from the head, you've been running with the ego, and it's incredible to see. And to when I look back at videos and pictures, I just think, oh yeah, you were that. Oh yeah, you were him. Oh yeah, you were that. And now it's just like, no, this is me. This is the real me. This is the singing me. This is the I don't care what anyone else says. This is the true me. But yeah, ego-driven, started Ginger Camel in 2011 and built it up to a recognized brand. Had great clients, had a great journey. But when I look back, and it was a film production company, when I look back, I wasn't really I always wanted to run a business, but I didn't care what the business was. But it kind of fell into my lap because it was someone else's idea. And I just went, oh, there you go. Yes, I come from broadcast background. Now someone wants to run a production company. And that took me on the journey of being in production. And then it came to the point where, oh, now I've got the opportunity to set my own production company up.
Yeah.
It wasn't about production. I didn't enjoy going on set. I didn't like the stress. I didn't like the tension. I didn't like the fact that we're relying on so many people. What I liked about building my business was looking after people, building a platform that people could be the best version that they could, to allow them to be as creative as they could be. So create an environment where as soon as they walk through that door, the outside world they left behind, and this was a place where they could create magic. And looking back, that's what I did. But I didn't know I was doing that at the time. It was just like, no, just got to keep this, build it up, find the right people for the team, make sure that they fit in, make sure that their heart sings, their creativity, etc., etc. But when I look back now, I just think, yeah, you were coaching, you were training, you were
about to say.
Yeah, you were looking after people, but you really didn't. You were doing that, but it was coming from your heart, but it was led by your ego, which was your head, and that's why you probably weren't really aware of what your heart was doing, and and that was your best thing. And I never forget, we reached 2019, and we were killing it, and I thought, yeah, this is the road to the World Cup. And then 2020 happened, and COVID, and literally, and also when I was at the top, top of the mountain, I call it, I was bored because I had developed my team. The clients were coming to the team because they represented the company. They instilled everything about what I was about, what my values were about. The clients would enjoy working with the team, et cetera, et cetera. And I was sitting in my office going, oh, what do I do now?
What am I doing?
What am I doing?
Why am I here? Why did I come into the office today?
Absolutely. I was bored. I think that's why.
Which is a success, but at the same time, it's funny to see it from the other perspective.
It is. And I think that's why I did the podcast, just to be able to talk to someone, because the whole team the whole team was too busy to talk to me. It was just like, oh, I've done it. But then COVID came along and it literally kicked me off the mountain. And at the time, I struggled, where before the clients were there, then they were panicking, they closed the doors. And we were quite reactive. We weren't really proactive. We literally were fed by the agencies. Agencies gave us the work, and we delivered what was on the piece of paper into videos. And that was hard. But what was nice was that all the people that had been with me on this journey held on as long as they could without being paid, et cetera, et cetera. And, in the end, they just came to me and said, look, I'm really sorry, but, I've got family to support. I've got to find a job. I don't want to do this. This has been a fantastic journey. I've learned so much. And, I'm not the person that I was when I first came through that door. And I thank you for that. And it was so hard. It was a really difficult time. And I found myself in depression around the summertime. And something inside of me just said, after a few months, said, look, you're very good at looking after people, giving back to people, because I had interns coming, I had staff coming into my office, and I was always there helping them. And that got me to do some videos on Instagram, just kind of inspirational videos. And something inside me said, look, you're good at this, but you need the tools. You need the right tools. Go and learn coaching. Go and teach yourself coaching. So I signed up to a coaching course, and that kind of took me out of my dark hole of depression. And, I really wanted to close the business then, but I felt, no, I've still got a few people that, I have responsibilities for. And we kept going for the World Cup because I thought, well, come on, but I was still on my knees, still trying to pick myself up with, the money and stuff like that. And we got to the World Cup. It was intense. It was crazy. It wasn't where I wanted to be because I didn't have the original team. I didn't have that 2019 team because they had all gone, and I only had like a skeleton team. So it was difficult. It was hard. It was really pressure. And then afterwards, 23 didn't really pick up. And then 24, I just thought, no, I'm going to close the business, but I'm going to launch myself as a coach, what I've always wanted. And it's amazing. It's incredible. So that's a kind of long-winded, but that's me.
No, I love it because, in essence, and I remember that was my impression of you when we even did the podcast at the beginning, it was like you hold the space. And like the core of what coaching is all about is holding the space. So you have been doing, as you said, it's always about going back to your core, but sometimes you don't know how to structure it, or it's unstructured and you can't really put your finger on it. And I like part of my journey, and that it's always realizing that at my core, it's knowledge sharing and dissemination. Like I say, I love teaching. I'm not, but I don't like the bureaucracy of the teaching part. Like, I can't be put in a university and expect to teach classes. But I love teaching on a daily basis because I spent my lifetime learning and a lot of certificates. That I love just encapsulating them in a way I refer to as humanizing business, because we have been there, we've done that. It's learning. And the other part that I love about what you shared is you're sharing the other side of the story. And I know this is where we both found the common ground, is it's talking about the human behind the business. You have the business. This is what people strive for, and the success and everything else. But is this in alignment with me? Am I happy? Is this what I actually want to do? And when the answer is no, you step back and it's like, oh, this is scary, but I'm going to jump off another cliff on the other side and see where that takes me.
Yeah. No, I was just, sorry, I was just about to say, and my wife's at the, watching, and she's going, oh, where are you jumping now? Where are you going now? And it's just like, oh God.
I know. But that's the point. I think holding the space, I think when you come from this space of holding the space, you attract people around you that hold the space for you as well as you explore. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about your relationship, and my relationship as well with my husband is I believe in you. I know this is going to be messy, but go do your thing. Go do your thing, and I've got your back. Which brings us to today's topic. We're talking about the reset. A lot of people are, and again, I think the bottom line of what we're saying is it's not easy when you feel, hang on a second, I thought this was working, but it's not. And you have to worry about the everyday things, the finances, taking care of family, financial obligations, mortgages, houses, those kind of things. But you say, how do I reset from here? And it's not a do-over. It's not you're never ever starting from scratch. But let's start breaking down the blueprint a little bit. I know we put blueprint in the title, but I think it's a bit intimidating, but let's break it
Well,
down.
you put the blueprint in, I did.
I put the blueprint in the title, and now I'm like, okay. But let's break it down. That point of, first, let's start with the awareness. If you don't have the awareness, how do you acquire awareness to identify whether you are at the point you want to be in your life or not?
I think the awareness, and I've spoken to a lot of people, since taking this journey as a life coach and mentor. I do a daily live on TikTok, and there's a lot of people that come through, and it can be any age. It can be, a student that's nearly reaching the end in university to get to that finish line, and they feel that they can't do it. Or it might be, someone that's just turning up for work, and they just don't have the energy to get out of bed, or they, when they're at work, they feel numb. There's nothing, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Or it's the older generation that are getting to that point of retirement, and it's just like, no one wants me anymore. What, where do I go from there? And it, with the student, a lot of the time, when you ask the student, are you doing something that you love? Was that the course that you chose for yourself? And 99.9% it isn't. It's been dictated by family, or, it's been suggested, rather than, what do you want to do? What do you really feel that, either you're giving, energizing you, and you really want to go for it. And it is because they are running in their head doing this course that they don't want to do. So I always have this little image of this head with little legs pulling this dead body behind them, and it's tough, and they're trying to get to the finish line, and they can't, because they see the finish line and they can't see past that. So that's how I know that's where that things need to change, or you need to look at past the finish line to, this doesn't have to be your journey. You can choose a career after that. You've ticked the box. You've made people around you happy, but then you've got that qualification, and you're not going back to zero. You've gained that qualification. You proved that you can get that qualification. So now go and look at how you can use that qualification and do something that you really love. That's for the student. For the employee, they know that them turning up, they don't have any energy, they don't have any, they've tried. But again, sometimes when you talk to them, they haven't tried. Whatever, I get them to tune into their heart and to really find out what really gets them motivated, get them, what did they really like doing at school, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes I suggest, why don't you introduce that within your workplace? You don't just have to turn up for work and do what has been asked of you. Maybe there's opportunities for you to introduce what you really like to do. So now the workplace becomes a different place for you to go to. But if that's not the case, then maybe you can start something on the side, because yes, we all know, as you said, got to put a roof over our head. We've got to put food in our mouth, and we've got to look after the children, et cetera, et cetera. So we can't just go, oh, well, I'm not feeling it, so let's disappear. Let's go and start something else. And we know that takes time, that takes energy, that takes effort, and that takes money. So we don't want to rock the boat. So financially, we've got to still show up, but we can start investigating what we truly are into, what really lights our fire, and start investigating something on the side. And it doesn't cost us anything. We know we're part of so many networks. We're part of so many entrepreneurial networks that you can tap into that energy. You can tap into where people are looking for your talents. You have been working for so long. You have the experience. You've worked in a corporation. You know how systems work. You might have an expertise in, a certain skill that you could, on the side, help And I mean help. You're not even looking at monetary at the moment because you're still going and doing the job. So startups would be looking for that because it's just like, oh, he's willing to give his time. Wow. And your time, you're receiving the energy, you're receiving, new knowledge and new direction. And that startup might go on a journey where there might come a time where you look, oh, well, actually, if I left my job, this could fulfill, what I'm actually giving up. Yeah. And then for the older generation, there coming a time where they feel that they're not wanted, they're not appreciated, but actually they are. There's so many youngsters that just want to be mentored. There's so many youngsters that just want to be guided because, a lot of families split up, et cetera, or they've lost their grandparents that, we used to have family units where it would be the mother and the children, the mother and father, and actually grandparents, where we would look after the grandparents. And a lot of societies, that isn't the case. So, and we used to look up to our grandparents who had the time to literally guide the grandchildren, to, look out for them while the parents were always busy because, they're trying to keep the family running, they're trying to keep the income running. So they would always be sitting with their grandchildren and just guiding them, telling them stories, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of lost in a lot of societies. So there's an older generation that could give back, could show up like I do. I feel like I'm the older generation, and I feel like my life is like me as an oldie giving back. I was at an award ceremony the other day, and I was talking to some doctors who were oldish, probably younger than me, and I was saying, come on, because they were just sitting there and going, oh, what do we do, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, start giving back. You've got so much experience in life. You've got so much wisdom. You've got so many qualifications that there is youngsters that are crying out for that. Just show up.
Yeah. And I think that's the part. For me, when I started mentoring as well, startup founders, and again, it's not about the age, it's just about, we know that because you've gone through so many experiences. I realized that I'm on venture number 9 now, not saying that they were all a success. But
it doesn't even have to be success. It's the lessons.
That's the point. These are the lessons that you get out of them. That there is so much I can share because, again, there's a value that people don't realize. Whether you have been working for 1 year or you've been working for 30 years, you're acquiring experiential knowledge. It's beyond the knowledge of, I read about it in school or in a book or something. You have experienced that knowledge. You have applied it. You have tried it and seen what works and what doesn't. Not that you can dictate to people what they need to do, but you can definitely advise on what you have experienced.
Yeah.
But a big chunk of the resistance and in going through every kind of stakeholder you mentioned, and a big impediment to embracing that change is the sunk cost fallacy, which is applicable in business, but like when we're talking about humans but I've spent, like the university student who is a senior now and has spent already this is their 4th year, they're studying towards this. And then they're like, but I've spent this long, I can't switch now. Okay, university students a bit easier. Okay, just complete this degree. And then you could go for many other degrees if you're interested.
Absolutely.
Or certifications or professional certifications, which would make a lot more sense. But with someone who has spent a career, or is building a business for a few years, and I was like, I should continue. I've invested so much time, energy, and money into this, rather than say what you were talking about, that pivot. How can I take what I've learned and see the applications of it somewhere else?
But I hear that so much, especially in the coaching field. You get all these experienced people, qualified people that decide, okay, enough's enough. And they see the wisdom, they see the power of coaching, and then they become a coach. And they hide away because they feel that their value isn't any value, because now they're putting themselves down as zero because they've just recently trained as a coach. And it's incredible because it's just like, no, you look where you come from. Look
That
at all
part
that
is what you're
life.
coaching about.
Oh, it's incredible. So I love meeting coaches because I love listening to their story and then seeing that they're, well, I'm a bit scared to go out there. It's just like, what are you saying? You used to be in high-powered corporate meetings. You would be telling them what to do. You'd be selling them services. You would be business development for a big, huge, world-renowned corporation, and you're telling me that you can't go out now and sell yourself as a coach, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
So
but it's human nature again. But Stefan, there's another part. There's the okay. So you might have your own limiting beliefs, your own blocks, whatever it is, stemming from a number of reasons. You also have that part of the people around you, the inner circle that would tell you, like I got told that to my face many times when I quit corporate and started doing businesses, like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you here? You were at a high paying corporate job, high ranking and everything else. Why are you doing this? And sometimes you kind of start questioning yourself. It's like, why the hell am I doing this? Why am I resetting if good enough was good enough?
It's the head, they're communicating with the head. So the head kicks in and it's all about worry. It's all about, the stress. It's all about worrying about what's going to happen in the future, rather than, they're not communicating with your heart, where the heart is singing. And that's what they're seeing. It's literally, you have bloomed in and you found your purpose. You found your vision. You found your goal, and you're moving forward. And the people that are making the comment are noticing that you're different, and you're actually taking one step further away from them, and they're starting to see someone that they can't recognize. So that's why, and I feel that they're reflecting their own concerns, their own reflections about them, that they're not doing anything, onto you. And that's why they want you to question it, because it's just, no, come back to that comfort zone, come back to that big corporate, money. Even though you weren't happy, we don't care. We just want you close. We don't like the fact that actually you're moving forward, you're learning, and actually you're becoming who you truly should be.
Have you heard of the crab theory?
The what theory?
The crab theory.
No, I haven't. I think someone, either you told me, but
I might have told you about it before. So it was Bedros Keuilian, I think in the book Man Up, if I'm not mistaken. And he was talking that he was on holiday, and there was it was a fishing village, and this guy was fishing for crabs, and he was sitting there, kind of fishing for them, and the crabs were behind him in a pail, and he could see that one of the crabs was crawling out, and he's like, hey, your crabs are escaping, and they're at your back, you can't even see them. And he's like, no, just wait for it. He's like, what? Just like keep watching them. And that crab that nearly made it to the top to escape for his life, run for his life.
Yeah.
The other crabs pulled him down. He's like, they will always do that. Since we're all together in here, you're going to stay with us. Uh-huh. And the moment I read that, I'm like, oh my God. And I remembered all the crabs in my life holding me down, and like, you can't be doing that, which is exactly the thing. You can't change. This was comfortable for us, uncomfortably comfortable, but it was here. Yeah. And this is, when we are talking about a reset blueprint, and we're talking about embracing the change, it's about escaping from the crabs.
Escaping from the crowds, but also it can be a lonely journey, because when you do escape, you're in an area that you don't recognize, or it's unfamiliar territory. So that does get you to question yourself as well. That's where the little voice come in, because it's just like, oh, I'm all on my own. Because now, where you used to have that support network and you've left them behind because they don't see it, maybe you've got a few people that are there on your journey, but it can be quite lonely at the beginning, until you start making momentum and you start being, you put the energy out there, and then suddenly people start to see the new you, or maybe they didn't even know you, and you're attracting attention, etc., etc. So yeah, I never forget when you step into that new arena, the new outside of your comfort zone, it is lonely, and it does feel uncomfortable.
Very.
Yeah.
And the thing, I think one of the things you have to do embrace is to understand that even those that you do meet that are in alignment with you in maybe the first part of the arena might not necessarily be the same people who will move on with you, because as you grow and evolve, so do they, and justifiably you will drift apart. So it's not like you're going to hang on to a new group of
No.
crabs
No.
that are all comfortable together.
No, you will attract new crabs. And as you say, there might be a purpose why they've come into your life, but as you keep moving forward, some will carry on with you and others will fall away by the wayside. And that always reminds me of when I started Ginger Camel. You had, because you wanted to get the business, you would take any business that came your way. But as you became bigger, you had to let certain businesses go or clients go because they weren't the right fit for you. And you could see that they were draining your time and your energy, where you should, if you had more time and energy, you could then focus on bigger and better projects. And that, that's just the progression and as you build your company. And that's just like you as well. You know what's right. You know where you're going, because you wouldn't be moving forward and changing if you didn't have your vision, if you didn't have your goal. And you decide who's going to be on that journey with you, because you're putting in all the time, you're putting in all the effort, and you're much more aware now of who you want on that journey. You're not naive. You're not, when you're in your comfort zone, you just, you probably are quite comfortable accepting people into your life. But when you've got a mission, when you've got a goal, when you've got a vision, you want to be lean, mean, and you don't want to take anyone's baggage, or you don't want to take anyone on as baggage. And you want people to be walking by your side, not you carrying them. So you're a lot more aware of who you want to join you on this journey.
That's true. Okay. I want to bring it in to kind of wrap it in. No, I want to reel it in.
Wrap.
I want to reel in, talking about fishing and everything related.
Okay, let's reel it in.
Exactly. To the leadership part. So now, as a business owner, as a business leader, as a leader in your community of sorts, let's bring in some kind of guiding guidelines.
It sounded good. Keep going.
It sounded good, but I couldn't find what's after guiding. So
I was hanging off every word, and come on, where are we going?
Then it stopped.
This sounds too intellectual for me. Where are you going? Come on.
Some guidelines to support them with embracing the change when they do feel, whether it's towards themselves as they are evolving, or towards their team members, or towards their clients, as you were just referring. What would be some of the steps that they have to identify and more importantly, feel comfortable with when it comes to resetting, embracing change, and taking something out of it?
Good question. That's you're talking about a leader that has seen the light and that decides that things need to be changed within the organization. Well, it all starts with them for a start, on how they show up. What are they bringing to the table? And you and me are both the same. The way we think is being open, being honest, and that's how I ran my businesses, was to be open and honest, that I'm not hiding anything, that what you see is what you get. But I'm going to bring the energy. And if you're not bringing the energy, then we're going to sit down and I'm going to find out, and that's the big thing that I find with companies, is that they think, and in life in general, if you look at a football team and and the crowd, if a player doesn't have a good match, oh, they're abusing them, they're, oh, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, you don't know what's going on in their head. You don't know if he's had an argument with his wife. You don't know if he's, lost a family member. You don't know what's going on, but you're ready to, point the finger and complain. And that's in business as well. You don't know how people are showing up. You think that they're there to do a job, and they've got to leave everything else behind. You think that as soon as they walk through the door, that there's a switch, and they go into machine mode and jump, don't make a mistake, etc., etc. So, as a leader, it's being open, and it's also being aware, communicating, sit down with your staff members, find out where they're at, where they are in life.
Empathy.
Absolutely. I always believe that if I can coach my team, that will make them a better staff member. But if they want to leave, then they will go on and do great things. And I've done my job either way, because I'm investing in that person, whether they stay or whether they go. And it doesn't matter for me, because, I've hopefully have helped that person and his family and his society, culture, etc., etc. So it is literally checking in with your team, seeing where they are. And if any mistakes happen, don't do the blame game and point fingers. Find out what went wrong. And it's a dance. Someone doesn't make a mistake because they want to make a mistake. They've made a mistake because maybe either they're not, something's happened in their life, but also maybe it's the system that they're working in that has created the reason why they've made this mistake. And rather than point the finger, look at how can we learn from that, and how can we move on forward and not make that same mistake again. And people will feel more empowered if you show up like that, as a thoughtful, caring leader.
Yeah, I love that. Stefan, I know that we usually speak for a few hours. But
I know. My wife asked, how long are you talking to Dr. Hannah? And I said, oh, it's only half an hour. She said, really? Yeah, I know. Yeah. We speak for hours.
You know what? I'm thinking of doing a much longer format of this, because I was watching Diary of a CEO, and the episode is 3 hours long. I'm like, what's wrong with that?
Absolutely. And that's quality content, and you produce quality content. So come on. Absolutely.
So I will have you back for a much longer episode. Maybe
episode 498.
No, before that. But I'll call it Empowered to Grow extended version.
Superb. I look forward to it. And, can I say you're doing a great job? And again, you're amazing. The transformation, the journey that you're on, I know it's difficult. I know, we know what it's like. We're not always up here.
No.
There are times when we're down here. We're just human beings. And, you've been on your journey. I'm on my journey. Sometimes I'm up here. Sometimes I'm down here. But it's funny how people put you in that box of like, oh yeah, look, they're always doing this, so they must be, really successful and really living the dream. And actually, no, we're just like you. We have our good days and we have our bad days. So well done.
Thank you. I really appreciate you. And I appreciate the fact that, and this is where we share this value of vulnerability, to ensure that it is not all rosy and sunny what you're doing. We are taking risks on a daily basis. There are days where we're up to it, and there are days that it's just, I'm just tired. I just can't do this anymore. And you step back, and I think this is part of embracing the change, but also having the courage to say, okay, I'll step back. I'm not out. I'm just stepping back for a day, for 2, for a week. I just need to take a breather, because that's okay as well.
I love that, because that reminds me when I get stressed, I think, oh no, I've got to work harder. I've got to show up more. But actually, it's when I step back, when I, go back to my routines of, just sweeping the courtyard or, taking that extra long walk is my center, is where I should go rather than go the other way.
Yeah. Thank you once again for being my very special guest. And thank you for the first spark that you gave me. And it's been ongoing since then.
Superb. By the way, can I just ask, do
Yeah.
you see anyone watching, or is this just recorded and then?
No, this is supposed to be live, but I can't see anyone.
You
But
can't
again,
see it. Do you see
we're
it? Do you
using
see it when?
StreamYard, and sometimes it doesn't actually reflect.
Yeah, because
But,
I've never been on StreamYard before, so this is the
Yeah.
first time I've been on there. So I know it says stream this to your audience. Is that what I'm meant to connect next time?
Next time, yeah, that would help. But technically, because you've been added as a speaker on LinkedIn, it should have given the notification. Again, sometimes the comments don't come through, but it's going to be on LinkedIn. It's going to be on YouTube. It will be on Apple Podcast and Spotify. You know the drill.
This is
Goes
it.
everywhere.
This is it. You're producing quality content that you can literally put everywhere, even though, the live might not, attract a big audience, but you're producing quality content that you can literally, and that's what people forget.
Yeah.
So
Thank
well
you,
done.
my friend. I appreciate you. And
Thank you.
Looking forward to having our next conversation.
Absolutely.
And for everyone watching, I hope you got a lot of value today. It is about embracing the phases of your life, embracing the change, having the courage to step up and say, this does not align with my heart anymore. And that's okay. It's not you're jumping off a cliff, but you're taking very small steps towards where your core is and where you will find your alignment, and that of your team when you are a leader, and that of your family when you're a leader of your family as well. This applies to every aspect of your life. As always, I wish you love, abundance, and prosperity, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Empowered to Grow podcast. I'll catch you on the next episode. And until then, know that empowered you empowers others. Love, abundance, and prosperity to you all.